What's good, family? This is your boy back on the frequency, and if you don't punch that like button into the floor for me in the next 10 seconds, you're going to miss the biggest domino chain hip-hop has stacked up all summer. I'm not exaggerating. I'm about to say the quiet part out loud on Pharrell, Jay-Z, DJ Drama, 50 Cent, Travis Scott, Offset, Rick Ross, The Game, Lil Wayne, Funk Flex, Big Meech, and Gucci Mane, all in one sitting. Book it right now, this is coming. Let's slide right into today's plate. So Pharrell just walked out and told the world he wants Jay-Z and DJ Drama to build a Gangsta Grillz mixtape together. And Pharrell, being Pharrell, said he wants it done yesterday, but not on the beats you'd expect. Nah. He said he wants it on wild stuff. Led Zeppelin loops. Rock and roll skeletons. The kind of production that would either turn Jay-Z into a legend all over again, or send the culture into a full-blown group chat argument. And I'm going to say something that's about to bother some people. Ready? 0. That's my number for how many people are actually waiting on that. 0. And listen, I love a good album cycle. 444 was a solid body of work. Nobody's disputing that. But when's the last time you heard somebody riding around bumping a record from 444 with the windows down? Right. Exactly. That album lives in respect, not in rotation. If Jay-Z came out tomorrow and dropped a project, the entire internet would stop breathing for 48 hours. I want to hear that. I want to hear a Watch the Throne Part 2 more than I want to hear a Rock Loop mixtape. And I know Jay-Z knows that too, because Jay-Z is the sharpest business mind in this culture. Which is why I'm telling you right now what I actually think is about to happen, and you're going to remember I called it. Jay-Z is sitting on a decision. Mixtape or album. And whichever one it turns out to be, it's going on beats he can monetize. When was the last time Jay-Z gave you a mixtape he didn't monetize? Exactly. Never. The man doesn't leak. He releases. Here's my prediction. Kendrick Lamar is going to walk out on that Los Angeles stage during Jay-Z's tour stop and hit the mic with something aimed straight at Drake. Book it. And between the LA run and the France run, you're going to see a rollout where every single ticket comes with a copy of the project baked into the price. Physical. Not stream. Physical. And when the Billboard numbers post, Jay-Z is going to be moving the same kind of units Drake just moved. Because when you fold a project into a ticket, it registers as a physical sale, and the whole industry looks up and goes, who's still moving physicals in this market? Jay-Z. That's who. The scoreboard doesn't lie. And Jay-Z knows the scoreboard better than anyone. Now let me pivot, because this next one is spicy, and I want you locked in. Travis Scott. Allegedly, and I'm putting that word in bold, Travis Scott got roughed up inside a club and escorted out by people said to be affiliated with 50 Cent. Let me put it on the table plainly. This traces back to the whole Cuban link situation. Travis Scott and 50 Cent's ex have been out in public, and 50 Cent, being 50 Cent, took shots. He said the thing about feeding somebody else's woman, and in rap culture, that's not a joke. That's a marker. That's a flag planted. And Travis Scott took it personally. So when a story starts circulating that people connected to 50 Cent handled Travis Scott inside a club, you don't dismiss it. You don't confirm it either. But you don't dismiss it. Here's the part that makes it interesting. 50 Cent doesn't move like a club rat. 50 Cent moves like a head of state. Motorcade in, motorcade out. You don't catch him hanging around the Fanatics Festival taking flicks with strangers. So for a story like this to break the surface, for it to leak out at all, somebody wanted it out. That's the tell. In this culture, information doesn't fall off the table. Information gets pushed off the table. And whoever pushed this one had a reason. Drop your read in the comments, I want to see it. Alright, let's rotate. Hollywood YC just came out and said he loaned Offset $5,000. Straight cash. And Offset, according to Hollywood YC, never paid it back. Then, when Hollywood YC asked Offset for a verse, Offset came back with the price tag. $20,000 for a feature. And Hollywood YC's reaction was basically, my guy, you still owe me $5. And Offset's response was, bro, my features aren't $5, they're $20. Man, listen. I'm past all that. That's not how you build a career. That's how you burn bridges in real time. And here's the layer people are missing. That $5,000 wasn't for groceries. Hollywood YC has said that money was tied to a gambling situation. Offset needed it to keep rolling. That's a whole different weight class. When you borrow money to gamble and don't pay it back, you're not a broke friend. You're a liability. I love Offset's music. I want to see Offset win. But you can't move like that and expect the industry to keep opening doors for you. Now, transition. My son answered Jay-Z's Target freestyle with what he's calling a letter to Jay-Z. And listen, the activist community was already heated about the Target situation. The Colin Kaepernick chapter has not been closed. People want accountability, and they want it in public. So my son takes a swing, drops a freestyle letter hybrid, and now the internet's arguing about whether it lands or whether it's a reach. Hold that thought for a second. I'm not going to tell you what to think here. I'm going to let you make that call. Because sometimes the response is louder than the record, and sometimes it dies in the group chat. Which one is this? That's on you. Let's shift to Rick Ross. Because this one has math in it, and I love when the math tells the truth. Rick Ross came out a full week before his album dropped and made sure everybody heard him say, "I don't care about first week numbers." Now, ask yourself, why would a rapper who's built his entire brand on winning suddenly announce, unprompted, that he's above the scoreboard? Because he already knew. He'd already seen the pre-save data. He'd already seen the Spotify projections. And he was doing the smart thing, lowering the temperature before the temperature came for him. I actually thought this album was going to do 30. I did the math myself. I took the Spotify pre-save trajectory, doubled it for Apple Music users because that's the rough ratio, and it looked like 30 was in reach. And 30 would have put Rick Ross in the same tier as his joint project with Meek Mill, which was a legitimately good body of work. This one? This one is being projected under 10,000. Under 10,000. And of course Rick Ross is on every timeline saying, "The scoreboard doesn't move me." Man, listen. The scoreboard moves everybody. The first thing a brand deal wants to see is your engagement. Show me your back end. Show me the analytics. If you did a paid promotion, they're pulling your Instagram back end before the ink dries on the contract. So no, Rick Ross doesn't get to brush this one off with a smile. King Harris, T.I.'s son, decided to take a swing at the culture and said when he thinks of the word diva, he thinks of female wrestlers. Yo. King Harris is lost. And I say that with zero joy. He's a young man trying to find his identity in public, and everybody around him is scared to correct him because they need the streaming numbers his name generates. Let's just be real about that. Nobody's telling this kid the truth because everybody's making money off his confusion. That's a problem. That's a bigger problem than any bar he could ever spit. Now let me get to the game. Because the game is one of the most fascinating case studies in this entire culture, and nobody talks about it right. The game hates Jay-Z so much that he ends up emulating Jay-Z. Read that again. If you don't know the history, before the game dropped the documentary, he put out 2 mixtapes with Jordan Tower called The Bigger Figure, and on those tapes, he was dissing Jay-Z from track 1 to the outro. Jay-Z didn't even know who the game was at the time. Jay-Z didn't respond. Jay-Z didn't acknowledge it. Jay-Z kept building the empire. And now, years later, the game is rocking a fro. A Jay-Z fro. Is a Caesar next? Is the game going to grow the exact same beard next? Because this is a pattern. Anything popping in the culture, the game runs to it. It used to be the other way around. The game used to be the trendsetter. Now the game is a follower. And I like the game. I want the game to eat. I've heard snippets from his new project and they sound legitimately strong. But you can't build a legacy chasing the shadow of the man you spent a career pretending to hate. Now here's a lighter one, because you deserve a breath. Rick Ross's girlfriend just gave him a public kiss on the red carpet. And when I tell you the internet lost its mind, I mean it. Because she never kisses him in public. She usually walks the carpet 3 steps behind, looking bored, checking her phone. But this week? This week she leaned in and gave him a peck. Not on the lips. On the cheek. Auntie-style. And Rick Ross is beaming like a man who just closed a merger. That kiss cost money. That kiss came with a per diem. And the fact that Rick Ross reads every comment about his relationship, that's the reveal. He's engineering the perception. That's not a girlfriend, that's a rollout. Arm candy on retainer. Speaking of aliens, Lil Wayne. People are saying Lil Wayne can't possibly be human because he knows too much about aliens. He's out here talking about why they're small, why their heads are enormous, why their eyes take up half their face. And listen, I love Lil Wayne. Best rapper alive on his good days. But bro looks like an alien. Let me just say that with love. He looks like one. Which either makes his knowledge suspicious or extremely credible, depending on how you want to read it. Book that one for the comment section. Alright, now I have to get into the Funk Flex situation, because this is where the entire episode turns into a movie. DJ Camilo went on record and responded to Funk Flex's claim that DJ Enough was fired from Hot 97 for payola. Camilo said, and I'm quoting the energy here, DJ Enough was not let go for payola. DJ Enough was let go because of budget cuts. Because Hot 97, like every terrestrial radio station in America right now, is bleeding money and restructuring in real time. The whole industry is contracting. Camilo laid it out clean. And then Funk Master Flex, the same Funk Flex who threw the payola grenade in the first place, came back and said, and I'm paraphrasing, you know what, Camilo, I hear you. I think you handled that well. I don't think it was payola either. I think it was budget cuts. Case closed. Moving on. Positive energy. Positive energy? Positive energy? Flex, my guy. You accused a colleague of committing a federal crime. Payola is illegal. That's not a jab. That's not a subtweet. That's an accusation that can end a person's career and land them in front of a lawyer. And now you're rolling it back like you misplaced a receipt at Whole Foods? Nah. Let me tell you what I think actually happened here. Because Funk Flex thinks he's slick. Back in the day, and every DJ from that era knows this, Flex used to have a little side hustle. If an artist wanted a record played, wanted a spin, wanted that legendary bomb drop treatment, the conversation would drift toward Funk Flex's car business. Yeah, come through, buy a set of rims. Come through, buy some tires. Boom. Rims sold. Record spun. Nothing on paper. That's how the old heads moved. That's how the whole radio game moved for 20 years. And I think somebody was about to expose that particular chapter, and Funk Flex looked at the situation and said, you know what? Positive energy. Let's roll this whole thing back. Because if you push too hard on payola, the entire industry gets audited, and Flex knows exactly which drawer his own paperwork lives in. And to close the loop on this one, because we always close the loop, Big Meech just went on record saying Gucci Mane wanted to join BMF back in the day. Gucci Mane wanted in. And Big Meech turned him down. Now here we are, all these years later, and both of them have been publicly accused of being rats at different points. Both of them. The man who wanted in, and the man who kept him out. Let that marinate. Because in this culture, the line between kingpin and cooperator is thinner than the ink on the paperwork. And the fact that the two men on opposite sides of that BMF door have both been dragged for the same accusation? That's not a coincidence. That's the shape of the game itself. So let me bring this whole plate back around. Jay-Z is about to move. That's the headline of the summer, and you heard it here first. Kendrick Lamar is going to hit that Los Angeles stage with a Drake-shaped bullet in the chamber. 50 Cent's shadow is over the Travis Scott situation, and the fact that anybody's talking about it at all is the tell. Offset owes Hollywood YC money he'll probably never pay back, because that's what happens when gambling debts turn into feature negotiations. Rick Ross's album is going to land under 10,000, and no amount of I'm Beyond numbers is going to erase the receipts. King Harris needs somebody in his corner willing to tell him the truth for free. The game is out here cosplaying the man he built a career hating. Lil Wayne is either an alien or a genius, and honestly the answer is probably both. And Funk Master Flex just walked back a payola accusation faster than any DJ in the history of the format, because the second that door opens, everybody in the building gets exposed. That's the plate. That's the whole plate. And here's the part one want you to sit with: every single one of these stories connects. Every single one. Because hip-hop isn't a genre anymore. Hip-hop is a marketplace. A political machine. A stock exchange with a soundtrack. And every headline you just heard is a stock ticker. Jay-Z is a buy. Rick Ross is a sell. The game is a hold. Funk Flex is under investigation. And Kendrick Lamar? Kendrick Lamar is the volatile asset that could 10x or crater by the end of the tour. So here's what I want you to do. If you made it this far, punch that like button into the floor for me. If you want the next breakdown the second it drops, hit that subscribe button and turn the bell all the way on, because when Jay-Z announces that project, you're going to want the first read, and I'm going to be the one giving it to you. Drop your prediction in the comments. Album or mixtape? LA Rollout or France Rollout? Kendrick on stage or Kendrick on wax first? I read every single comment on this channel, and the sharpest read gets pinned to the top of the next episode. Until then, stay dangerous, stay informed, stay 10 steps ahead of the algorithm. Peace.